I get asked a lot of questions, actually, about the US specifically. People know that I'm not from here. I am from the UK, but I feel like I've been embraced heavily by the USA, especially over the past few years. My biggest audience for every single thing that I do is actually here in the US. And a lot of people ask me questions like, what's going on over there? What's it really like? Is this true? Is that true? And then when I'm in the US, people ask me questions about what's going on in other places. But I thought it would be important, as someone who's been around the world many times and spent a lot of time having these conversations and doing these kinds of events with people, is to understand what the global perspective on the USA is and what some of those questions are. Now, the first question I tend to get is everything as crazy as it looks? Right? Think about what you see of other nations when you're on social media or if you turn into the TV, right? You just see the crazy stuff, don't you? Even when you're seeing what's happening in the US, when you're seeing what's going on in the cities, it's always the crazy stuff that's being amplified, right? It's never the normality, right? I know people who live in the UK, for example, who are afraid to come to the USA because they think they're going to get shot. I've met Americans who are afraid to go to the UK because they think they're going to get stabbed or they're going to be the victim of an acid attack or something like that. So there's so much negativity that is floating out there. And what I often tell people, both here and abroad, is that the USA is a wonderful country. Most people are good. Most people are sane. But normal, everyday life, people getting on well, people going to work, looking after their families, looking after their neighbors, just being normal, that doesn't make the news. That doesn't go viral on social media, right? There's no news, oh, it was a beautiful day in Chicago and nothing happened. That's not news. But if someone goes out there and does something crazy, then that's what people hear about. People always ask me, when I was in South Africa and when I was in Nigeria, people were asking me about all the gender stuff that's going on. They're like, is it true that they believe over there that, a man can just turn into a woman or a woman can turn like that? That's crazy. Do they really believe that? And I'm like, I mean, there are some people who do believe it, or at least pretend to, but I would say that the vast majority of people do not, and they do recognize reality. One of the biggest problems I think we have is the issue of silence, the issue of quiet complicity. You hear a lot of people use the term silent majority, and I think one of the biggest issues that we're facing, not just in the US, but across the entire West, is the silent majority has oftentimes become a silenced majority. And in countries where the freedom of speech is supposed to be a core value and is supposed to be something that's upheld, something that is written into the Constitution, in the First Amendment here in the USA, what good is freedom of speech if people are afraid to use their speech? I often tell people, if you don't use your freedom of speech, you lose your freedom of speech. A lot of people ask me about the culture war issues. What's going on? It seems like there's a war on, doesn't it seem like there's a war on everything and everybody? What I find so fascinating is no matter who I talk to and what demographic they fit in, they feel like there's a war against them. Do you guys sense this as well? When I talk to men, especially young men, it feels like there's a war on masculinity, a war on men as a whole going on. When you talk to women, or you're seeing what's going on with men identifying as women and thrashing women in their beauty pageants and in their sporting events and all of this, it seems very clear that there's some type of war on women and femininity going on. Seems like there's a war on the family. There's a war on marriage. There's a war on people of faith. There's a war on Christianity. It's very strange. If I talk to some of my black American friends, they feel like there's a war on black people going on in this country. I talk to white American friends. They feel like white people, especially white men, are being demonized. How can it be that there is a war on absolutely everybody? Something interesting to think about.